Aloha, everybody. This is Jeanne Russell here at Dolphin Touch Wellness Center in Kapa'a, Hawaii. Hawaii, in case you don't know. And I can be reached at dolphintouch.org. I have a wellness center, which I'm in right now, where we offer a bunch of different modalities, and especially retreats and workshops and things where we help people just to raise their consciousness. And part of it is the physical, getting physically alignment, getting your body in a physical alignment, because we can't do anything else if we're not feeling good, if we're in pain or whatever we're experiencing. So first addressing the physical, then the mental, which is the thought processes. Those are those things that no longer serve us, those wonderful messages we tell ourselves that are not always so positive. And then the emotional, we go into any feelings of emotion. To me, emotions are a pathway to enlightenment. They're going to show us where we need to go on our spiritual path. So we look at those emotions and when those emotions pop up. And then on the karmic level, healing your karmic energy, looking at those patterns over your life that have been repeating, that you're ready to change and change your energy and change your life. So that's me here, Jeanne Russell, Dolphin Touch, and I am visited today by a lovely guest, Vanessa Simpkins. I've known Vanessa, since a long time, 15, 20 years, I don't know. And I met Vanessa here on Kauai. She was doing a little workshop in a yoga studio, just sharing her beautiful gifts and her story. And she had just launched her book about mops and making how much? $800 a day on mops. And it's a great book, and it's a small little book, easy to read. And I just felt this connection right away with Vanessa. And we've been friends ever since. I've gone to her retreats. She's gone to my retreats. We've done retreats together. We've been sharing, and now she lives in beautiful Mount Shasta, where I took a group of people just recently there at her beautiful Hale to do a retreat. So Vanessa, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in your beautiful world.
Well, recently I've been exercising demons and I'm reading the Bible, and I did not grow up religious. We've known each other for 10 years. I used to live on the island of Kauai. I wrote my second book, the bestseller, Take Your Power Back Now, which turned into a global women's empowerment movement, which is basically a story that I never wanted to share about healing from a toxic relationship that nearly killed me one night in a hotel room. And I believe that when we really surrender to God, we become a vessel for the Holy Spirit or God to channel through us and really live our purpose. It's not really for, like, Vanessa Simpkins didn't really write the book, right? We're all kind of these vessels for the divine, and or other things, like people can be possessed. I've had actually some really interesting, phenomenal experiences in my life. And so how many books in my life? I help a lot of women break through inner blocks, teach mindset mastery, sales, marketing, and really help women take their power back now and overcome fear and thrive. Jeanne Marie and I met on the island with my first book. That was back in 2013. So 11 years ago. And we're kind of just running around in the same circles, and she's become a dear friend of mine. So I work with a lot of spiritual women entrepreneurs and people who are ready to overcome their blocks. And what I've been learning recently is that actually a lot of people's uncertainty, fear, stems from what I would call spiritual warfare. And if you would have told me, 4 or 5 years ago, when I moved from Southern California here to Mount Shasta, that this would be going on the planet, I would have laughed in your face. Really, because again, I'm not religious. I didn't grow up in the church or reading the Bible. It's a very kind of recent thing in the last few years. And I can't deny the power of the word. And a couple of years ago, I went to Kauai. It would have been 2 winters ago, and I nearly died in a riptide. I was out at, the beach, it's by the Hanalei Bay Colony Resort, and it was my fault. I did not read the sign. It says, limit at your own risk, right? And I'm out there, I'm like, oh, it's shallow, it's so fun, and got ripped out in the ocean.
Wow.
And
I did that too at one point.
oh, yeah, most people have it. And it's not like the 2 times I nearly died, 3 times. Okay, I've got 3 stories, but 2 of those stories are snorkeling in Kauai. Not bungee jumping, not jumping out of a plane, you know what I mean? Not even surfing, snorkeling.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, but I called out to Jesus. I, hey, Jesus, save me. I don't want to die. Because I'm there, sputtering, and look back, there's a whole rock wall behind me. I'm swimming and going, just getting sucked out. Nothing I do is working. And immediately I get this thought, stop swimming towards shore and go this way. And I got out. And that I wouldn't even say is the beginning. I think when God tries to knock on our hearts with a purpose, it's not really something that we escape from. I met a man in the grocery store line a couple of years ago, and he's like, you don't have any hair on your toes. You mustn't be from around here. And we became quick
That's
friends.
a weird conversation.
I know.
I've never heard of that as a starter conversation.
Yeah, he's a pastor around here. He ended up bringing me a saddle, gave me a saddle. I had a guy that shoveled the driveway, give me a Bible. And not to say that everybody in the church is like on the level, because I think that it's the number one place where people get abused. Okay, so there's a lot of these conversations about God. Each of the topic, people have so many experiences and negative experiences in the family, or abuse, or people, in the media that abuse God. And it's a very kind of heated topic. And I like to hold space for, safe space for women. Number one, I think that's really one of the things I love to do. And I love to help women have radical breakthroughs with, whether it's in their mindset or worthiness. I love to look at shame. I tend to have a lot of women that do suffer from a neglect or abuse, and I show them how to take that story and turn it into a movement, because God can really use anything, anyone, at any time, and it requires us kind of surrendering to that. So I really love being a witness of that transformation.
So you had some major transformations in your life. I've heard your story, a couple of your stories. I'm still learning more of your stories. I didn't know about the drowning story. Well, what did you learn? I'm curious, what did you learn from the drowning story? Like, here you are out in the ocean.
Well, here's what's really
What
interesting.
was it, a voice that you heard that said, swim this way? I mean, what was and after? What was the shift that happened?
So I'm so happy to have this conversation, because when I got on the shore, okay, it wasn't a voice, it wasn't a big booming voice. Like when I had this really bad experience 10 years prior in the hotel room, nearly dying, in a hotel room. That would be one experience. And I escaped, and it was like a abusive relationship. We were both very, very drunk. Okay. And I escaped to the taxi. I was like, God, why is this happening? Because for years I was like, please, show me my purpose. I surrender. I will do it, And then when the answer finally came, it was like a booming voice. So you can help women not fall into the same patterns. And then I started crying, right? Because I was like, oh, hell no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to look bad. I don't want to talk about emotional abuse, neglect, addiction, all those things, right? I just want to run around with from bankrupt to making $900 a day mop book. That was a safe story to tell. The Take Your Power Back Now story was not safe.
Right.
And that turned into a global movement, and millions of dollars in sales, and thousands of women's lives around the world changed. You met
really
you met
feel,
some of these
I
you
really
met some
feel
of
the
these women
things
in the
that,
program,
yeah,
right?
totally, totally. I really feel that the things that terrify us are, that's the direction. Like, that's where spirit is calling us. Okay, is this terrifying to you? Is this evoking an emotion? That's where you need to go, not turn the other way. But
So
like,
well
yeah,
said, it's often the things that we're most afraid of that have the most energy to propel us forward. But we've got to open the door, right?
yes.
And walk through it. So when this the second experience here, what would be the third experience, on Kauai with the riptide, what was interesting was I was going to Kauai because I had broken up with somebody and I was just trying to run away from all the memories. And so I thought, I'm just going to go to Kauai, my safe space. I've been going there for 15 years, and it's like my, spiritual tribe. And then I ended up renting a house from a couple who were alcoholics. The husband had been very ill, and they left for the winter, and I rented their house, supposedly for 2 months. And they had an old cat. Okay. And it was like horrendous. The cat was pissing everywhere. I think even the cat was possessed. It was horrible. The cat needed to die, and I knew it was going to die, and it did. It died on my watch, and I was very kind with it, very compassionate, very connected with animals. And then my friend's daughter was born on the same day. It was kind of radical. But I didn't want to live there. I didn't want to stay there. And I know Kauai. It's really a portal of conscious transformation. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced. The island will squeeze shit out of you. Okay.
It's very unique. And I've been to a lot of places, been to Europe and all over the United States. There's nothing like the energy here. Nothing.
I highlight and really deep darkness.
Yeah.
It's like in extremes. And so I didn't want to stay at this person's house anymore. And really, I was paying too much money. And I couldn't afford to stay there. Really, it wasn't worth it. And so when I got on the beach after this riptide experience, that person called me, and I just told them the truth. I was like, listen, I'm not going to stay for the second month. And then I went actually back to the house. And the next day, it was 11 o'clock in the morning. I was cleaning the windows. I couldn't stand how filthy the freaking windows were. It was disgusting me. And I always like to leave places much more beautiful than I left them. You've been in my house. It's like a sanctuary of beauty. It's flowers, gardens. There's a garden Eden in my house. Like, it's gorgeous. I live with these like 2,000-year-old trees around my property. And I love art and beauty. And so I couldn't stand the guy's windows. I started cleaning the windows, stone cold sober. I mean, got into sobriety 2 years ago, not a lick of freaking alcohol, no psychedelic, nothing. 11 o'clock in the morning, cleaning the windows. And I see this black hand come out of the window.
Whoa.
No sound. It was not a bird. You want to talk about terror? I've never been so terrified in all of my life.
Oh my God. My goodness.
That night, I projectile vomited.
Oh my God.
Now, even when I used to drink, what kids, they drink, you get drunk, you don't know your alcohol, you barf. Even when I was a kid and a teenager and I would drink too much and never barfed, I don't barf. And so now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, Holy Spirit comes in you, or, you invite Jesus into your life and you were protected.
Yeah, it was a purge.
No, that's not going to enter you. No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can tell you stories about visions, about being attacked in my dreams. And I'm starting to look at this now through the lens of spiritual warfare and spiritual attacks. And I know it might sound absolutely crazy. And this is often what prevents people from sharing their truth and sharing their stories. Like, oh, people are going to think you're crazy. Who are you? A lot of my clients are like, oh, I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be rejected. You know, I don't want to be seen as woo woo or spiritual. And it's like, well, we all got a purpose, folks. So how about we, you know, find the courage to share our truth with love? And that's actually what builds the best kind of marketing and sales, because people can actually resonate. I mean, there's no there's no denying that there's some radical stuff going on here on the planet. I mean, all you got to do is look at politics.
Yeah.
Man's world, not God's kingdom. That's man's world. To see how crazy it is. I'm just all of that.
The dolphins speak a lot about judgment and connect about judgment, and they just emanate love. And that's their energy and their vibration. It's just emanate love. And you know, you cannot know, how can you judge another person? You cannot know what they're experiencing, what they've gone through in the past to get to where they are now. So it's like, can we just all just drop the judgment and just like be and accept and allow people to have their own experience without throwing some story around it or prejudging or putting anything else into it, and just let people
judge ye not, lest ye be judged. It says it in the Bible. I know it's a
lot
really
of good
hot.
stuff in the Bible.
The Bible is a hot. This is like the religion. We're gonna talk about that. Yep, we're going there.
Well, the Bible is different than religion, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So the Bible has a lot of really good information. You read the Bible, you're like, wow, this is amazing.
It's alive. The
and
thing is alive.
2,000 years old.
You want to talk about magic? And trust me, it's in that book, as I've had some radical experiences.
But religion takes that and then morphs it into their creation.
And can be used as control.
And can be used as control or manipulation or greed or other agendas, you know.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
different.
And unfortunately, people then divorce God because of that.
Yes.
Don't throw God out just because there are children being abused in churches. You know, this is actually something really that I learned, that Satan actually governs this world, not God. Oh, read about it. Read about it, because I've been studying. If I decide to study something, I'm going to go all the way through it. I love to research the truth.
You know, to me, it's like, who are you going to listen to? Which wolf are you going to give more attention to? You can focus on the negative or you can focus on the positive.
Well,
I to focus on the positive.
Yes, and here's the real problem that I have with like new age spirituality and this whole law of attraction thing, which I've taught for years, is that it's like, don't talk about anything negative. And I'm a big proponent of focus on what's going right and not what's going wrong. But I'm also, the truth will set you free, because when you realize that, when you pray, you pray to God, you go to God first, which actually is wielding that power over any entity, any force. Self-doubt, fear, trauma. Let's talk about trauma, because you're like, hey, Vanessa, how did you transform your life? And what were some of these triggers for you? You know, the Take Your Power Back Now book was me telling the story of healing from an abusive relationship. And if I look at mental illness, which there's a lot of that in my family, alcoholism, hoarding, all of, you know, every mental illness, if you look at it, you research it, stems from unprocessed trauma.
Yeah.
And then people self-medicate with addiction.
Usually from
porn, drinking, drugs, food. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So healing trauma is actually, this is actually another, when we have a lot of pain and suffering, this is actually an open door for Satan. And I know people might think, oh, don't focus on what's positive here. Yeah. But if I tell you,
no, it exists. There's no denying that exists. I mean, it's not like, you know, there is evil in the world. There are evil people that have done things in the world. Talk about government, you know. it exists.
I
There's no
watched the
denying
demon
that
get
it exists.
exorcised out of somebody right in front of my face on Sunday morning. And it says it in the Bible, you shall do all these things in my name and more. You should help people blind to see, to hear, and exorcise demons and all these things. And all I said was a very simple prayer. And I said, I was telling a story of using this in my own personal life. And I actually believe, like, looking back now on over 15 years of women's empowerment work, and I'm looking back, like I can talk to you in, like, these are a whole book of my life. This is a chapter called This Book, called This Decade now. I'm 45 years old. And when I look back, even on the Take Your Power Back Now book, my ads account was shut twice. Right? When the light is actually made itself seen in the dark. And so I was basically just sharing this radical story, because here's the next evolution happening here. Ads account was shut down again. And I finally get the ad account hooked up. And in the exact same moment, somebody from 3 years ago who took my program backlashes it on Trustpilot. And I'm like, wait a minute, you took my program 3 years ago and you're making a bad review on Trustpilot, and oh, you had trauma. Well, that's interesting. Okay, and you came through my program, was never a healing trauma program, but since then trust me, I've done my deep dive fair share after going through divorce and getting sober and really getting into this. And I thought, well, to myself, this is no coincidence. There are no coincidences in my life. It's all synchronicity. And so I started saying this prayer: the Lord rebuke you, Satan, bind up all of their entities, bind up Satan's entities, not me, Vanessa Simpkins, rebuke Satan, the Lord.
Yeah.
And arrest them in Jesus' name. Thank you, God. Amen. And I started running around the house screaming this prayer. First, I called my friend Eddie and I had a big cry because I was like, people, every time I try to move forward. And I think the biggest time in my life that I've ever suffered, Jeanne, was believing the lie that God was punishing me.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people
biggest. And this is how Satan comes in.
That is so not the way the
universe works. It's not true.
Absolutely not.
The second lie Satan uses is, you're all alone.
Yeah, there's so many people on the other side, and spirit guides and angels.
God. Okay. Right. So I start telling Eddie about this, and he said, listen, people are possessed, Vanessa. They just straight up are possessed. He's like, you just keep moving forward. And I tell him about this prayer, and I'm like, I'm jumping around the house. I'm just like so freaked out at the coincidence, man. And so I leave my house and I go over to my friend Jim's house for lunch. And as soon as I leave on the road, 9, not 3, not 2, 9 cop cars. I'm like, arrest them. Okay.
They're going to arrest them.
Well, there's no separation in consciousness. We're all just
totally. And you are the creator of your own reality.
Exactly. So. In real time.
There you go. You created 9 cop cars.
So when I used to really teach, like, affirmations is one thing, and I don't even know.
Affirmations are not enough.
Yeah, these denials, these like, hey, because everything you ask in my name, I will give you. The power of the spoken word. It's incredible. So I'm really having like the most incredible experience with this. I never really gave it much credit, and I
do believe that affirmations need an emotional energy behind it in order to manifest. We have to feel the emotion, have the emotion of it, not just say something and not connect with it or feel with it. We have to put the emotion behind the affirmation, and then it has some power.
Yeah.
Some energy.
I believe that if God is who he says he is and created everything, then that power can do anything and everything.
Absolutely. We have that power to do anything within us. That God power is within us as well. That's my belief. And my belief is that we are creating, like, nothing happens coincidentally. Everything happens for a reason. And the universe is always working in your favor. And even though it may seem negative from the outside or terrible, the worst thing that's ever happened to you, but it's going to push you and it's going to challenge you and it's going to have you advance more on your spiritual path. You're going to go down that path that you might never have chosen, but because you were forced into these situations, like maybe you were alone after that breakup or whatever it was, it's
I would have never in a million year guessed if that God would ever use me to exorcise freaking demons. Jeanne.
well, you have an infinite power.
Well, I'm just
Like,
saying,
no,
like,
but the
this
thing
is
is,
radical.
Vanessa, the thing is,
Radical. I
if
would have
it
never
comes,
picked this in a million years.
if it comes into your consciousness, like, first of all, that is not something that is coming into my consciousness. So it's not something that, but if it comes into your consciousness, why did that thought even come there? Why did that idea that you could do that even enter in? Because, yeah, it was possible. Exactly. And it was something to show you what else is possible.
It just made a lot of sense.
What else is
Looking,
possible?
it just made a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
When nothing else worked for me really. And, just to see in the past 2 weeks, just experience what happened on Sunday morning with a neighbor here was absolutely mind blowing. I cannot.
Yeah. I don't know that you want to do that every single day of your life, but just
No, but it was not a hard conversation. It was just like, hey, here's a prayer, here's the truth, and bang, there was not like, thunder
Yeah.
clouds in the air or something. It
Well,
was nothing like that,
mean,
but
you
she
want
left
to
the
come in
conversation very
exorcist,
positive.
you can, but
into-
it's just, I think the message for you there was not like, okay, I'm now going to become an exorcist. I think the message for you was, okay, yeah, I have this ability. I have this infinite possibilities.
I think the power of prayer is something very powerful.
Very powerful. And
Very powerful.
that's what intentions and affirmations are. They're really prayers. And when we say them, we're putting this prayer out to the universe. And the way, I'm a Reiki master, and so I'm all about energy. And the way energy works is what you put out, it has to, the ripple effect will go out into the universe. And then what you're attracting will come back to you. So that energy of, oh yeah, I can do this. But the thought process is all part of it too. Like, now you think, well, what else is possible? What else can I do? What else can I manifest? What else can I create? What else can I make possible in my world? And then all of these floodgates open, like, oh, maybe I want to do this. Maybe I want to do that. Maybe I want to go here. Maybe I want to travel. Maybe I want to help kids, whatever it is. And there you go. It's just opening that doorway. A lot of people talk about ayahuasca doing that, or plant medicine. I've never done it, but I could see how that, people who are like keep banging against the wall, how it kind of would open the doorway. And the dolphin energetics that I take in the ocean and done with people have had that experience where, again, it's like, we're going to open a doorway and then you're going to see the world differently. You're going to feel in your body different. You're going to feel in your heart different. And then that peace, that essence, that true essence of who you are, you're going to connect with your soul on a whole different level. And then this need or desire to help others is a natural transition of that. It's a natural gift that we are all here to share with one another, to help one another in
agree
some
with that.
way.
I do agree with that. We all have a purpose. I'm not a fan of psychedelic drugs or even alcohol. I think it opens the door to some really dark energy. That's why they call it spirits.
Yeah.
And And it's not also to say, it's also not to say that there isn't some really, really great research about using, you know, I remember there was one summer here where I started painting the deck and I microdosed on mushrooms, and I was listening to gospel music. Okay, that was kind of wild in itself. But you know, I don't need psychedelics. However, it really brought up a massive fear that I had around being an artist. And that was radical. So,
and it broke through that barrier.
well, it will show you what needs to look at, but you still have to integrate it. So you have to actually have the integration tools. Since then, I've not touched any of that at all. But
I've never felt the need for it because I got into meditation at an early age. And for me, meditation can do just the same. I could go into a meditative state and it can take me outside my body. I've been outside my body in meditative state, looking down at my body. You know, it's like that for me, luckily, you know, that was my doorway. But, you know, we all have our different paths. And my first connection.
Things change. Yeah. Things evolve. You learn new things. Things expand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to go back in time a little bit to when we were on Kauai and we were at a beautiful beach and we were swimming out there and the dolphins came over. And I just want you to share from your point of view, like, you know, how that experience went for you.
That was amazing, actually. I had never swam with dolphins before. And so Jeanne and I went out on these paddle boards. And they weren't even paddle boards, they were boogie boards.
Yeah. Oh, boogie boards. Yeah, I think
we were not on paddle boards. We were on boogie boards and flippers, okay, in the ocean.
Right. Yeah.
And people were seeing dolphins. So we get out there, and sure enough, we get circled. It was incredible. This pod of dolphins circled us, and we're just hanging out there. And these little spinner pink, I would call them pink-bellied baby spinner dolphins, because they would jump and spin and kind of look at you as they were in the air. And I'd never seen anything like it.
So cute. And
then we did, like, we were hanging out with them, and then they would go off to see somebody else was on a paddleboard over there. And so we'd start to swim back to shore, and immediately the dolphin pod would come back around. They're like, no, don't leave us. Don't leave this oneness.
Right, they were following us.
Keep everyone here. And they would come back again, and we were like, okay, well, now we're going to go back to shore. And they'd come, wait. And they'd come and they were trying to hurt us.
Right.
It was really fascinating. And never hurt us. I mean, heard, right? They were trying to bring us back. And we got back to shore. And I think something I can't explain scientifically, I don't even know the level of presence.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the only way I can explain it that I felt, and throughout the rest of the day, was just this heightened presence. And that's what I remember from swimming with you when you took me out to swim with the dolphins in Kauai.
Yeah, thank you for sharing it. Yeah, that was so amazing. Water was crystal clear, and the sparkles on the water like diamonds, and it just the temperature was perfect, and we were just out there. And I felt at one with the ocean, you know, like we were connected to the water, to the sky, to the earth, to the dolphins. And we were like one of the pod. They were like, you're one of the pod. What are you doing? They were like, oh, we are kind of human. We're gonna have to go back. And then they're like, no, come back. It was such a beautiful experience that, I mean, every time I'm out with the dolphins, it's so magical. Even when they're not physically present, they're energetically present, and it's like that. And that's what it is. It's that presence that we are like you're not thinking about your bills, or you're not thinking about the relationship, or you're not thinking about what happened yesterday or what do you have to do tomorrow. You're just like seeing these beautiful colors. Like that's what got me, like coming out of the water, like the greens were vibrant green and the
Yeah.
blues
Yeah.
were vibrant blues, and
Yeah.
like all the colors and the beauty of this world, of this, of course, beautiful island of Kauai, but just everywhere you look, the beauty that's all around us, and shining in people's faces and everything else. And it's just a different level of energy and vibration and power. And it was just, yeah. And the wonderful thing is that, you know, we could go back there to that moment. Once you experience that, you can go back to that moment again and again and again, and you're there again. And it's magical. It's totally magical. I want to share a story because it's relevant right now in my life. Talk about the magic. So my son went to Noman School of Animation in California, LA. And he graduated in March, but it's such a small school, they didn't have the graduation till later. And my son, being who he is, didn't let us know. He's like, yeah, graduation. So I'm booking his flight back to LA because he's got to close down his apartment September 1st to the 30th. Okay, I'm going to book it. Book these flights a million times. I hit book and it says flight no longer available. I'm like, what? That has like never happened to me. So I can't book the flight. Not 2 minutes later, my phone rings and it's his school. And they said, hey, is Sean coming to the graduation? And I'm like, typical Sean. When is the graduation? And she said, oh, it's August 30th, which is like 2 days before I was going to fly him out there. And I'm like, well, let me talk to Sean, and we'll see. And I talked to Sean. He's like, oh, I'm not there for the accolades. I'm not there for the, you know, I just went there for the education. I'm like, Sean, it's graduation. This is a milestone in your life. Go to the graduation. So finally he's like, okay, I'll go. He goes to the graduation. I now can book his flight, no problem, of course. I book his flight. He goes out there. He goes to the graduation. I said, you know, please wear something nice. And the only thing I ask is take a picture. Take a picture. So he goes to the graduation and they have these things called a demo reel. This is a sample of their work. His demo reel was the first one they put up. And when they put up his demo reel, it's a demonstration of all the things he had learned. People were clapping, cheering, standing ovation. They were like, yeah, you know, that was awesome, blah, blah, blah. The next person had come on to do the demo, their demo reel. They're still clapping for Sean, still clapping for him. And afterwards, the teacher, one of his teachers said, Sean, you know, when I first met you, you were very friendly and very nice. I didn't think you were that talented because mostly people who are friendly or nice are not that talented. They usually try to make it up by being friendly and nice. And he wound up saying that as I got to know you, not only are you super talented, but you're also friendly. And that was amazing because mostly talented people are kind of arrogant or not very nice, right? Or not very friendly because they're full of themselves. And he's like, I think you will own your own studio someday. And I think that's how good you are. And he would have missed all of that if I had booked that flight and had gone from September 1st, if that person hadn't called. And it's like, that's when you say believe in the magic. When you talk about magic and the universe and what's possible, it is like such a magical place that we live in if we pay attention and listen and just be still and see where we're guided, where we're pushed, where we're being directed, and then talk about infinite possibilities. That's when infinite possibilities start happening. I just want to
I
share.
love that story. I love that you were able to be a part of your son's feeling celebrated. And, you know, I feel like being honesty
Please.
is actually a gateway to transformation. And what struck me as you were sharing the story is this idea of like, oh, kind people aren't also successful people, and successful people are full of themselves. And that's kind of like a jarring statement for me. And I'm like, you know, I feel, and you're talking about magic and how a magical life
Well, that
is.
was that guy's interpretation.
Yes, I know. So I want to address it because yes, there is a lot of magic, beauty in the world, and there's also a lot of suffering. There is, you know,
Yeah.
and I won't like not address the duality here in life. And what I know to be true is that when we're honest, we're actually being kind. And it can be actually very difficult for people to be honest. This is a lot, you know, a lot of people are into like the people pleasing, or they're saying yes when they mean no, or, you know, rescuing, and which leads to manipulation. And I'm talking about it because it's a very real relational issue that people struggle with. And for me, it's not diminishing the beauty of life or the beauty of nature, the magic of nature. I live in it. I mean, you live in Kauai, it's in one of the most beautiful places in the world. Mount Shasta, Northern California, another, I think, beautiful places like this also have maybe so much magic, or I mean, no one can really say why so many people come here, why so many healers and consciousness experts go to Kauai, artists. And, you know, it's like, it's not negating beauty or magic to, you know, to talk about the truth.
Well, I think if you want intimacy in your life, if you really want intimacy, you need to have honesty. There is no intimacy without honesty. I mean, a lot of people talk about me and my husband and why we're so, I mean, we can't lie to each other. He's friggin' psychic too, and I'm psychic, and we all know. I can't even give him a Christmas present without him knowing what it is. But it's like, if you cannot have honesty with the people in your life, you know, how could you have honesty with anybody else? I mean, they're the ones that hopefully you can be truly honest. And maybe you have disagreements, or you argue, or you have a difference of opinion, or whatever it is, but you're being honest about, well, this is what I'm feeling in this moment. And yeah, maybe I'm getting something mixed up, or maybe I'm seeing things wrong, but this is what I'm feeling. And then you share what you're feeling. And that honesty takes courage, definitely. It definitely takes courage. And you have to be willing even to sacrifice the relationship for your honesty. Because if you don't have that, you really don't have a relationship. You don't, whether it's your best friend, whether it's your parents, whether, you know, it's like that honesty is what creates the intimacy that's so beautiful when you get to that moment of being truly intimate with one another.
Yes.
You have that if you're not being honest, because the honesty, if dishonest is going to put walls, it's going to put barriers. And even if you're trying to be nice or whatever, it's an unseen wall that's there.
Yeah, these courageous conversations is really what leads to transformation. And it does take a lot of courage, you know.
Yeah.
To me, it's a very real and relevant thing for me, as you were sharing a story about, you know, being honest, like not honest with a sword to slice somebody, but share your truth with love. That's always one of the principles that I taught. And it's so relevant because it is what develops intimacy, you know, when we can share and have the courage to address, confront, even, you know, calmly, but here's the truth. And also
And
another,
maybe you're wrong. Maybe, you know, and then admitting like, oh yeah, maybe I was
oh yeah,
missing something, right?
or
But
maybe I was wrong about this person's motives or intentions, or maybe I was completely out to left field. And so, you know, cultivating a safe space for people to actually, and then you get to see if they can meet you, if there's enough, you know, emotional maturity for somebody, if they have the skills, if they want to. It's very interesting. Relationships are a very interesting
yes.
place for growth. And there's no way to really, I think, grow without that, because relationships are a part of every part of our life. Business is about relationships, and the relational part of our life is really everything.
Right. It's a path to spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah.
You know, my kids have been a path to spiritual enlightenment. You know, with kids for a while, it's like kids, yeah, they're gonna push your buttons, they're gonna challenge you, they're
Family pushes your buttons, man.
stretch
That
you.
is for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's their job. Yeah. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us this for me morning here in Kauai. And in closing, if you want to share anything that you have going on, we'll also share it in the write-up, how to see you, but you know, talk about how people can get a hold of you and any new things you have going on.
Yeah, I've got thank you. My website, takeyourpowerbacknow.com, is probably the best place to find information about the various courses. I've just finished putting up all of the courses in that. That was a huge feat, but they're all on the website now. Courses about business, about mindset mastery, breaking through resistance. And my latest course is called Standards and Serenity, and it's about creating healthy boundaries and addressing trauma. Specifically looking at parentification, what happens in children who are parentified, meaning they have to be the adult when they're kids. That's how I grew up, and kind of healing from that. So that's also on the website. The book is there as well. A new audiobook just came out. So whatever I'm up to, that's probably the best place to find me. I'm also on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, Vanessa Simpkins, and Take Your Power Back Now. And thank you so much for inviting me today. This has been really lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I'm looking at your beautiful space. I just want to add that you are also offering that space. Are you still? Because we were there at your beautiful center, your beautiful house, and had a lovely retreat there and a great time. And it was amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I'm kind of like a bit of a hermit. Like I'm an artist. I'm kind of like I have this sanctuary space, and it is magical. Everybody who comes to the house is like, wow, it's peaceful, it's beautiful. There's a lot of big trees and mountain view. And this past summer, I did open up my house. I just kind of surrendered to that idea. I was like, what should I do? And I was like, yeah, why don't you invite your clients to bring their clients and have a retreat at the house? So that was really fun. And it was a lot. Like, it was a lot. But then again, I kind of reserve a lot of alone time for me. So the opposite of that is really, really nice in small doses.
Right.
So I want to be careful about like making any public
Totally.
statements of like, oh
Totally.
yeah, come and get it, come and do a retreat. Like, you got to be kind of invited. I got to make sure that like I like you and I like the work you're doing. And you know, I wouldn't just let anyone in my house.
Totally.
But yeah, it's been really interesting to kind of steward this home and this sanctuary. And I always think like there's a bigger purpose. So I have no idea really.
Yeah.
but I think more and more people are coming to Mount Shasta.
Oh yeah, crazy. I think Mount Shasta's going to blow up,
I
honestly.
remember you telling me
I
that. Yeah.
told you that. I told you that. And Mary Sue, she's out there now. And
Well, this is the most amazing thing. Jeanne Marie does this retreat. I sent an email to my list and I was like, hey, listen, if you want to do a retreat, I'll stay here and I'll show you guys around and bring your people. So Jeanne Russell, you brought your clients here. One of them was a woman named Mary
Mary
Sue.
Sue, yeah.
And so she comes to the retreat and she's like, I think I'm going to move here. And she said, what about you, Vanessa? And I was like, listen, I came here on a yoga retreat 6 years ago and I stayed and I bought the first house I saw. I bought the trees. I didn't care. It was the same thing when I get to Kauai. I was like, oh, I'm going to live here. And I did. I lived in Kauai for 2 years, 2013, 14. As soon as I came here, 2018, that was it. Bought a house, bing, bing, bada boom. And so it's so rad. She was actually just over at the house yesterday because she actually lives like maybe 7 houses away from me.
No way. I didn't realize you were that close.
She's right around the corner. She came over.
Oh my God.
Job.
She's a sweetheart.
And she's like, yeah, do you have a real estate agent? I'm like, yeah, I love connecting people. And so she went to look at houses with you.
Right. We helped her.
David were there with her and she bought a house, totally transformed her life.
Yes. Yes. It's perfect.
And so like, there's the power of retreats, right? And it's so nice because she's like, oh, I'm finding all this great community here. And
I knew she would.
She's got a great workout person. She's loving her fitness routine. And it's like, it's so nice. I just actually saw her also at the farmer's market on Monday. And I was like, why don't you come over for pizza? She's like, oh yeah, it's so nice.
She is
like,
awesome.
beautiful.
No, it's so great. No, that's the beauty. Yeah. The other beauty of retreats is the relationships, the people that you form. I mean, that was the first time where she met you. And then you also met Inez, who's also out there. Yeah, I mean, it's
really great. Interesting because both her and Inez moved here to Mount Shasta.
Right after the retreat.
Yeah. Isn't it wild?
I know. Well, the retreat before that, there was a couple on the retreat, and right after the retreat, they hung out on Kauai for another week while they got engaged. It was like, my God, crazy. Yep. So
it's fun. It's really nice.
It's really fun. And it's just that little push that some people need for, what's new and exciting and ready for the next step in their life.
I think it's a really great way, whether it's, a safe space in person or a safe space community online, to see that you're not alone in the things that you're struggling with, or the intentions or the goals and the dreams that you have, to be surrounded by people who are celebrating you and or holding space for whatever transformation is happening, or praying together,
Yeah.
setting affirmations, intentions, that it's really awesome to be around like-minded people. And I think there's nothing more, I don't know, magical or enlivening than the beauty of nature.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited, and I go on retreats myself. So next week we're gonna be in Tennessee with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and we're gonna have a whole week experience with them, and hopefully like-minded people. And I'm excited for the people we're gonna meet, and a new place. I've never been to Tennessee, so yeah, that's what retreats bring. Those exciting things.
It's great I always say it's great to have a routine, and it's great to break a routine, to get out of our comfort zone, because that's really like, if I ever get creatively stuck, I just leave, like get out of the house, get out of the routine. And the idea always comes when I'm like out hiking or swimming in the lake, or like doing something totally like not related to what I'm working on. And I love that you're going to Tennessee. I love that you're doing some work with Joe Dispenza. That will be very exciting.
Yeah, he was
wait to hear all about it.
What the Bleep. He was in that movie, What the Bleep, and I've known about him for years, and it was just like, oh yeah, talks about me. But in the last couple of months, like all of a sudden he was lighting up for me, like his name and videos of different things. And I'm like, I think there's something here for me. And David, he's coming too, my husband. And so we'll like see what it is. I don't know what it is. I know it's going to be exciting. I don't need to know right now. And just excited for the experience and to go out there. And apparently Nashville's a hopping in town. So
Very big music town.
mhm.
Well, I pray you guys have an amazing, expansive, safe, happy, and fun time over there in Tennessee, you and David.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. We could talk for hours,
Yeah.
for sure, as we have many times, sometimes in Colorado. But thank you for joining us today. And takeyourbowerbacknow.com is where you can connect with Vanessa. And we are dolphintouch.org. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Hui ho, everybody.
Aloha.
Aloha.